Bitcoin, as the pioneering cryptocurrency, has disrupted traditional financial systems and sparked a global conversation about the future of money. However, its journey is not without obstacles, facing challenges and criticism along the way. One of the most common criticisms of Bitcoin is its energy consumption, primarily due to its proof-of-work consensus mechanism. Proof of work requires miners to solve cryptographic puzzles, to validate transactions, and secure the network, which consumes a substantial amount of energy. However, it's important to look beyond the surface of this criticism and consider the full context of Bitcoin's energy usage, including how it compares to other industries and the innovations emerging to address environmental concerns. Let's have a closer look at Bitcoin's role in energy use. The energy-intensive nature of mining ensures that participation in securing the Bitcoin network requires significant investment in both hardware and electricity. This creates an economic barrier that prevents malicious actors from easily gaining control of the network. For an attacker to compromise the system, they would need to amass and sustain more energy and computational power than the rest of the network combined. This cost is prohibitively high, making attacks economically irrational and logistically impractical. Contrary to popular belief, a large and growing portion of Bitcoin's energy use comes from renewable energy sources. Many miners are incentivized to locate operations where energy is abundant and cheap, and often this is where renewable energy like hydropower, geothermal, solar, and wind is readily available. In fact, estimates suggest that over 50% of Bitcoin's energy use is powered by renewables, a figure that continues to grow as miners seek out cost-effective and sustainable solutions. Bitcoin mining can contribute to energy grid stabilization by acting as a flexible energy consumer. Miners can quickly reduce their energy usage during peak demand, helping to redirect electricity to where it's needed most. Additionally, Bitcoin mining is increasingly utilizing stranded or wasted energy, such as excess production from renewables or flared natural gas. This repurposing of otherwise unused energy not only makes mining more sustainable, but also helps reduce overall carbon emissions by putting wasted energy to productive use. Bitcoin's energy use is frequently compared to that of small countries, but such comparisons lack context. When viewed alongside global industries, Bitcoin's consumption is relatively modest. Traditional banking, with its extensive infrastructure of data centers, offices, ATMs, and transport networks, consumes significantly more energy globally. Bitcoin offers a decentralized alternative with a transparent energy footprint, challenging the inefficiencies of traditional systems. As of 2024, Bitcoin's annual electricity consumption is estimated at approximately 172.62 terawatt-hours, which is comparable to the energy usage of countries like Sweden. In contrast, the traditional banking sector's energy consumption is more challenging to quantify due to its complex infrastructure. However, a 2021 report estimated that the traditional banking system consumes approximately 263.72 terawatt-hours annually, which is much more than Bitcoin's consumption. Bitcoin has also faced criticism from skeptics who label it a Ponzi scheme. To address this, it's essential to understand what defines a Ponzi scheme and why Bitcoin fundamentally differs from such a fraudulent model. A Ponzi scheme is a type of financial fraud where returns to earlier investors are paid using funds from newer investors rather than from profit generated by legitimate business activities. It relies on continuous inflows of new participants to sustain payouts, and when these inflows stop, the scheme collapses. The term Ponzi scheme comes from Charles Ponzi, an infamous swindler in the 1920s who promised investors extraordinary returns through arbitrage of international postal reply coupons. In reality, he used money from new investors to pay returns to earlier ones. The scheme eventually unraveled when he could no longer attract enough new participants to cover his obligations, exposing his fraud. A Ponzi scheme is orchestrated by a central operator who manages the fraudulent flow of funds. Bitcoin, by contrast, is a decentralized open-source protocol with no central authority or promoter. Its value and operation are determined by market dynamics, not by promises from a controlling entity. In a Ponzi scheme, participants are typically lured with guaranteed returns. Bitcoin makes no such promises. Its value is driven by supply and demand in the open market, and there is no obligation for early adopters to receive funds from new participants. Bitcoin's capped supply of 21 million coins is hard-coded into its protocol, creating a scarcity that drives demand. In contrast, a Ponzi scheme has no such mechanism and relies on perpetually expanding inflows to function. Ironically, people purchase gold not because it generates cash flow, but because they believe others will value it in the future. Yet, gold is universally accepted as a legitimate asset, and no one considers it a Ponzi scheme because of its shiny physical appearance. The same reasoning applies to Bitcoin, which offers a similarly scarce asset with added utility in the digital age. As Bitcoin has grown in popularity, one challenge has emerged: scalability. Bitcoin's base layer, the main blockchain, can handle only a limited number of transactions per second due to its 10-minute block time, which prioritizes security and decentralization. This can lead to delays and higher fees, especially during times of heavy usage. To address these issues, the Lightning Network was introduced as a second-layer solution that works on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. It enables faster, off-chain transactions, allowing Bitcoin to scale while maintaining its core strengths. Retailers, such as Pick n Pay in South Africa, have already embraced the Lightning Network, using it to facilitate fast and efficient Bitcoin payments in their stores. The Lightning Network is like a shortcut for Bitcoin transactions. Instead of recording every payment on the main Bitcoin blockchain, it allows users to create private payment channels for faster and cheaper transactions. Two people, let's say Alice and Bob, open a payment channel by locking some Bitcoin into a shared account. This setup is recorded on the Bitcoin blockchain. Once the channel is open, Alice and Bob can send payments to each other as often as they like. Instead of recording each transaction on the blockchain, they just update their balance sheet within the channel. These updates happen off-chain, making them nearly instant and very cheap. When they're done, Alice and Bob close the channel and send the final balance to the Bitcoin blockchain. Only this final transaction is recorded on-chain. One big advantage of the Lightning Network is that you don't need to open a channel with everyone you want to pay. Payments can travel through a network of channels. For example, if Alice has a channel with Bob and Bob has one with Carol, Alice can pay Carol by sending the payment through Bob. This system makes it possible to send Bitcoin to anyone in the Lightning Network, even without a direct connection. In short, the Lightning Network is a faster, cheaper way to use Bitcoin while still benefiting from its security. Transactions on the Lightning Network are almost instantaneous. This makes Bitcoin suitable for everyday small transactions, like buying a coffee without waiting over 10 minutes for multiple confirmations on the blockchain. Because Lightning transactions are off-chain, users avoid the mining fees associated with Bitcoin's base layer. The Lightning Network allows Bitcoin to process millions of transactions per second, vastly increasing its capacity beyond the 7 transactions per second limit of the base layer. Off-chain transactions on the Lightning Network are not broadcast to the entire Bitcoin blockchain. This means they offer greater privacy, as they are only visible to the participants involved in the payment. It's a vital innovation for making Bitcoin more practical for everyday use, addressing its scalability issues, and unlocking its potential as a global payment network. While still evolving and not without its problems, the Lightning Network promises to play a crucial role in Bitcoin's future, transforming it from a store of value into a more flexible and efficient currency for daily transactions. Bitcoin's open-source nature allows anyone to review and contribute to its codebase, promoting transparency and collaboration. However, it also opens avenues for potential exploitation. Contributors with malicious intent could attempt to introduce vulnerabilities or backdoors into the code, or change the code so that more than 21 million could ever exist. On this example, all networks participants know that Bitcoin's value relies heavily on its scarcity. The fixed 21 million cap is a cornerstone of its appeal as digital gold. Changing this rule would devalue existing Bitcoin, harming all holders. No rational participant would support a change that harms the entire ecosystem. The open source community actively reviews all code changes. Thousands of developers globally scrutinize updates, making it exceedingly difficult for malicious code to go unnoticed. The decentralized development model relies on collective vigilance to maintain code integrity. As technologies like artificial intelligence and quantum computing advance, some worry that they could pose a threat to Bitcoin's security. The concern is particularly strong regarding quantum computing, which has the potential to break many of the cryptographic algorithms used today. However, while this risk is theoretically valid, there are several reasons why quantum computers cannot break Bitcoin's cryptographic security, at least not anytime soon. Quantum computers operate fundamentally differently from classical computers. While classical computers process information in bits, zeros and ones, quantum computers use quantum bits, or qubits, which can represent multiple states simultaneously. This ability gives quantum computers immense potential computational power, theoretically allowing them to solve problems much faster than classical computers. The fear is that quantum computers, if powerful enough, could break the cryptography used to secure Bitcoin. Specifically, they could solve the complex algorithms that protect Bitcoin private keys from being derived from public keys. If quantum computers could do this, they might be able to steal funds by cracking private keys. Despite the theoretical threat, quantum computers are nowhere near powerful enough to break Bitcoin's cryptography. Current quantum computers, like Google's Willow, have a maximum of 105 qubits and are extremely error-prone. In order to break elliptic curve cryptography, a quantum computer would need millions of stable, error-corrected qubits, a capability that is still many years, if not decades, away. $5 wrench attack. This term humorously describes a scenario where an attacker uses physical force or coercion to obtain someone's private keys, bypassing digital security measures. By keeping holdings private and using security best practices, users can minimize the risk of becoming targets. 51% attack. If an entity gains control of over 50% of the network's mining power, they could manipulate transactions, double-spend coins, or block other miners. The sheer scale and cost required to achieve 51% control over Bitcoin's network make such an attack highly unlikely. Any successful attack would undermine the value of Bitcoin, negatively impacting the attacker's investment, basically committing financial suicide. While theoretically possible, the immense scale and cost make a 51% attack on Bitcoin highly impractical with current technology. In Bitcoin's history, we have also seen different forks. Forks occur when changes are made to Bitcoin's protocol, leading to divergence in the blockchain. A soft fork is a backward-compatible upgrade where non-updated nodes can still participate. Soft forks allow Bitcoin to evolve and improve without causing disruption, maintaining network integrity and continuity. A hard fork is a non-backward compatible change requiring all nodes to upgrade. This can result in a new cryptocurrency if consensus isn't reached, as seen with Bitcoin Cash. Hard forks provide options for users to choose protocols that align with their preferences, embodying the decentralized ethos of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's ability to withstand forks without losing value or functionality demonstrates its robustness. One important hard fork happened during the so-called block size wars. They refer to a heated debate within the Bitcoin community over how to scale the network. Bitcoin's 1 megabyte block size limits the number of transactions per block, causing congestion and high fees during peak periods. Disagreements led to hard forks, creating new cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin Cash, where the block size has been increased. Now let's look at competing technologies. Alternative cryptocurrencies like Ethereum offer different features, such as smart contracts, while altcoins focus on various niches and are promising use cases without being truly decentralized, relying on a roadmap and a CEO. Bitcoin remains the most secure and decentralized store of value. Digital assets pegged to fiat currencies like Tether provide price stability in dollar terms, facilitating trading and transactions without exposure to volatility. Stablecoins often serve as a bridge in the crypto ecosystem, but they rely on centralized entities, whereas Bitcoin offers decentralization. Cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin started as internet memes but gained popularity and market value due to social media and celebrity endorsements. Meme coins highlight speculative trends, while Bitcoin's longevity and utility reflects a much more mature investment. Proof of stake is a consensus mechanism that replaces the energy-intensive process of mining with a system based on staking. Instead of using computational power to validate transactions and secure the network, participants, called validators, lock their cryptocurrency as collateral. In return, they earn rewards. If they act dishonestly, they risk losing their staked coins. This process ensures the network remains secure and efficient without relying on energy-intensive mining. Proof of work, used by Bitcoin, has proven more secure and battle-tested than proof of stake. The energy used secures the network against attacks, let alone that it is possible for one person, in that case, CEO Vitalik Buterin, to change Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake reflects the difference to Bitcoin's focus on decentralization. Now let's look at regulatory concerns. Governments enforce Know Your Customer regulations on exchanges and service providers. Compliance can increase institutional adoption and public trust in Bitcoin. Bitcoin allows users to choose between regulated services and more private, peer-to-peer transactions. Stricter Know Your Customer measures conflict with Bitcoin's ethos of privacy and decentralization, raising concerns among users about data security and surveillance, making it possible for governments to see how many Bitcoin an individual purchased. Countries like China have imposed strict bans on cryptocurrency trading and mining, citing financial risks and environmental concerns. Bitcoin continues to thrive globally despite localized bans, demonstrating its robustness. While bans can cause market volatility, influence mining operations, leading to hash rate fluctuations, mining operations often relocate to regions without governmental intervention and more sustainable energy practices. By addressing these threats and criticisms with a pro-Bitcoin perspective, we see that while challenges exist, Bitcoin's fundamental design, community resilience, and ongoing innovation position it to overcome obstacles and continue its growth as a leading digital asset.